Oh, hello, and welcome to Sunday School, the Vogue edition. I'm CJ Milli, and class is now in session. Today, we'll be learning about the herstory of ballroom culture, voguing, and the music behind it all. It's one of my favorite genres of music and ways to express the feminine cunt in me. But what makes it really special is the community created around it and the way it's changed so many people's lives, including my own. Voguing is a modern American dance style first created in the Black and Latino LGBT community. Madonna's 1990 hit Vogue is the reference point for most people. While her song and video did help catapult the art form, voguing represents so much more than just a genre of music or a style of dance. It is a form of liberation and an act of rebellion. Founded by queer and transgender people who refused to comply with what society tried to box them into, voguing is their space to unapologetically express themselves and to celebrate their beautiful queer identities that are sometimes shamed in other spaces. Voguing and ballroom has been around for over 100 years. One of the reasons it's still part of the underground culture is because for many years it was hidden, erased, and dangerous to document. If you weren't a part of ballroom, you didn't know about it. It began in New York, specifically the neighborhoods of the Village, Harlem, and the Christopher Street Piers. While ballroom and New York have changed, New York is and always will be its birthplace. The short version of the long history is that the scene evolved out of elaborate balls starting in the 1800s, where people, often queer people of color, would dress up in what today we would call drag. Those balls grew in popularity through the 1920s, but then there was a backlash, a moral panic, and for a time, dressing in drag and going to balls was a crime. As the years passed, queer people were increasingly the target of the police, the medical establishment, and society in general. During that time, a ton of queer culture was lost because balls had to be done in secret because it was simply too dangerous for queer people to openly express themselves. In the early days, each of the contestants was literally breaking the law. You could be sent to jail or the mental hospital just for not conforming to traditional gender roles. But then with the sexual revolution, drag functions started to re-emerge. In the 1970s, people like the legendary drag queen Crystal LaBeija started organizing their own balls, specifically for people of color, and formed houses. And the modern ballroom scene was born. To explain what I mean by houses, let me tell you a little story about what houses are and how ballroom saves lives. It's 1983 and there's a little black boy named Angel who lives in Harlem, New York. He's starting to feel a little different about himself and he's starting to have feelings for certain people that he's been told he should not have certain feelings for. So Angel gets the courage to sit his parents down and say, "Mom and Dad, I need to talk to you about something." His dad notices the serious tone in his voice, so he looks up from his paper and he says, "What do you need to tell me, son?" He's scared, but Angel says, I think I'm gay." His mom immediately starts crying and his dad, with a straight face, says, "Son, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, I know I'm gay, Dad. I'm gay." So his dad says, "I'm gonna ask you one more time, son, and after I ask you, you're gonna have two options. One, you're gonna tell me if you are gay, and if you say you are, the second option is you're gonna pack a bag and leave my house now." So Angel looks at his father and says, "Father, I'm gay." His dad picked him up by the throat, slammed him into the wall, and said, "If this is the life you want to live, then get everything you bought and get the fuck out of my house." Now, Angel is 13 years old, so he can't get a job. He has no money. So all he put in his book bag was a toothbrush, and he left. Now, the only place Angel knew to go was where he heard a lot of gay, black, and Latino youth were going in New York at the time, which was called the famous Pier. So Angel found enough money in his pockets and took a train to the pier. So he's at the pier now, living on the benches, and he started to learn from some of the other runaways and homeless kids how to survive. He learned where to sleep, what to watch out for, and how to defend himself. He's also noticed that there are a lot of young people that seem to hang out in a group, following one of the other members around. Sometimes they were standing in a circle, dancing and kiki-keying, having fun. So Angel was trying to figure out how they felt this connectivity amongst each other, and he wonders, how can I be like that? How can I find my people? So one day this woman walked past him and she said, "Child, what are you doing out here?" And Angel's been out there for 2 weeks now, so he really knows how to be street smart. And he said, "What's it to you?" The woman says, "Oh, you're a sassy one." And he says, "Well, yeah, what's up? What's good?" And she says, "Well, why are you out here?" And he says, "Why do you think I'm out here?" So this went back and forth, and she was amused by his ability to keep on his feet. Then some other young people ran up behind her and started calling her mother and saying, "Mom, are you ready to go?" So Angel looks at her and says, "Are these your kids?" And she says, "Yes, these are my children and this is my house." He said, "Well, what's a house?" And she said, "Follow me and I'll show you." That was his introduction into the house and ballroom world. Every year, thousands of LGBTQ teens are forced to leave their home. Studies have found that when gay teens come out to their family, about a quarter of them are kicked out of the house, and a third are assaulted by parents or caregivers. Homelessness puts these kids at higher risk for HIV, survival sex work, and run-ins with the police. When you come into the scene, you create a family. You have gay brothers, gay sisters. You can pick your gay parents or your gay parents pick you. And they become the accepting parents you never had. The mother of the house's role is to look after the young people who have been thrown out of the home where they grew up. To many Black, queer, and trans youth who have been traumatized, isolated, and abandoned, these houses are the epitome of safety, of being taken in when no one else wants you, when no one else sees you, and being held in a space long enough to heal and continue their journey to accomplishing their goals. Because they found a community that appreciates who they are and all of who they are, they're able to be themselves. And there is nothing in this world quite like the feeling of being celebrated for who you truly are. Ballroom houses, most importantly, serve as chosen families, but are also structured to prepare its members for the balls. The mother of the house becomes the mother because she is the best one out of the group. Take a real family. The mother is the hardest worker and the one who gets the most respect. There are also fathers of the house, so the mother and the father of the house basically become your parents, and whatever house you're in, that's your last name that represents the house you are a part of. Black trans women pioneered ballroom, so let's talk a little bit about that. Firstly, let me go ahead and explain the difference between being gay, being trans, and being a drag queen, since I was gagged to discover that there are still a lot of people who are unsure. Being gay is when you're attracted to the same sex. Okay, duh. Drag is a type of performance art that is really making fun of gender norms. Drag queens are shapeshifters, typically gay men who dress like women for the purpose of entertainment. Being transgender, however, is not a performance. Transgender is a gender identity, and trans people take their identity very seriously. Identifying as transgender is about who you are every day. Transgender people experience their gender in a way that's different from the gender the doctor gave them on their birth certificate when they were born. In daily life, they express their gender just like anyone else through their name, pronouns, clothing, hairstyle, how they talk and move, all of the things. And it takes fucking courage to be yourself when you're trans. That's why they have my utmost respect and hold a special place in my heart. I've had multiple friends come out to me as trans and had the privilege to see them blossom, and let me tell you, it is beautiful. Why does it take so much courage to be trans? Because you're immediately put at risk. It's difficult for many trans women to get jobs because no one wants to hire them. Hormone therapy can be life-saving for those experiencing gender dysphoria, which is a sense of being born in the wrong body. And because of the high cost of hormones and lack of jobs for trans people, many of them resort to survival sex work and getting their meds on the street, where they're put in even more danger of hate crimes and murder. Dating can also be difficult, even dangerous, for transgender women, with research indicating that up to half of transgender people have experienced intimate partner violence. More than 40% of non-binary youth say that they have attempted suicide, and on average, the life expectancy of a trans woman of color in the United States is 35 years old. The science and understanding around gender has changed a lot over the last 50 years, but the desire to live authentically, to be your complete self, that hasn't changed at all. Not only is being transgender celebrated in Vogue music, it is a place, no matter how the fuck you identify, that you can be seen as beautiful and praised for expressing your true forms. Vogue is how we resist the weight of an anti-black and transphobic world. When we're on the floor, we are weaponizing our bodies against those who fail or resist to see our humanity as black trans people, one said. Trans women need to be loved. They need to be celebrated. They need to be protected, and they need to be respected for their contributions to the ballroom community. As for the dancing behind the genre, David DePino tells us, it all started in an after-hours club called Footsteps on 2nd Avenue and 14th Street, to a page where a model was posing and stopped in that pose on the beat. Then she turned to the next page and stopped in the new pose, again on the beat. Another queen came up and did a pose in front of her, and then she went in front of her and did another pose. This was all shade. They were trying to make a prettier pose than the other one. And it soon caught on at the balls. At first they called it posing, and then, because it started from Vogue magazine, they called it voguing. So voguing comes from shade because it was a dance two people did because they didn't like each other. Instead of fighting or getting physical, you would dance it out on the dance floor, and whoever did the better moves is throwing the best shade, basically. But to really understand the history of Vogue, first we have to set the stage for the balls, where the dance originated and where it still takes place today. A ball consists of a judges panel, a commentator, or MC, and the contestants who compete in the numerous categories for trophies, cash prizes, and bragging rights. Each competitor belongs to a house, and the houses compete like sports teams at the balls. The ballroom categories include high fashion sportswear, realness with a twist, face, body, schoolgirl or schoolboy realness, town and country, executive realness, butch queen first time in drag at a ball, best dressed, runway, high fashion evening wear, banjee, and many more. When someone enters a category, they are walking. If the judges panel approves of what someone brought to the runway, a contestant is given a score of 10s across the board and becomes eligible to compete. After a series of battles in which the commentator and spectators chant to encourage and energize the dancers, a winner is decided. Today, there are 3 basic styles of voguing: Old Way, New Way, and Vogue Femme. The original style of Vogue is known as Old Way, a style all about symmetry, straight lines, hard angles, and precision. The posing in Old Way takes from hieroglyphics found in ancient Egypt. They strive for perfect lines in the body and awkward positions. New Way, built off of Old Way, relies more on clicks or limb contortions at the joints than a strong line and has more elements of gymnastics and flexibility. New Way added elements like the catwalk, the duck walk, spins and dips, enhanced hand and floor performance. While Old Way and New Way have definitely established the foundation of Vogue, if you watched a clip from a recent ball, the present style commonly showcased is known as Vogue Femme. Vogue Femme is all about fluidity and imitating the movements of femme queens, a term of endearment used to identify trans women in the scene. There are two specific styles of Vogue Femme, dramatics and soft. Dramatics relies heavily on speed and higher energy stunts and tricks. The soft style is a lot more graceful and controlled and relies more on executing a sense of ooze and feline-esque silhouettes. Now, to go even deeper, there are 5 elements that are key to Vogue Femme, which are known as the elements of Vogue. When competing in a battle, a contestant must use each element in their routine. First up is the catwalk. This step is a very exaggerated feminine stroll. Walk like a cat, deliberate and feminine. Move your hips from side to side to accentuate the body's seductive curvature, and your hands make swiping motions, clearing the runway for your performance. The next element is hands, or hand performance, which puts the focus squarely on moving your hands rhythmically. The hands convey the message you're sending to the panel of judges as well as to your competitors. Voguing is all about telling a story, so keep your chin up and focus on those wrists and fingers. Whether you're popping, twisting, or twirling them, get your point across one figure 8 at a time. The next element of Vogue is floor performance, which is all about oozing your sex appeal. Whether you're rolling, twisting, or gyrating on the floor, sell the panel set. One important point to be mindful of is to arch that back. The fourth element of Vogue is the duck walk, one of those moves that requires amazing core strength and precision to fully master. The move is a squatting motion where you balance on your tippy toes, kicking your feet out one by one. Rhythmically walk like a duck with your feet kicking with a hopping motion, but not a bounce. One tutorial I watched said to pretend like you're kicking little rocks with your feet. And the fifth element of Vogue is spins and dips. Definitely the crowd favorite. Dips happen during the crash in the beat where the performer lands on their back, sealing the dance phrase they were doing before the dip. Dips can be either soft, which are controlled in a feline-esque manner, or dramatic, which relies on high energy and fast movements. A death drop, popularized by RuPaul's Drag Race, is a dip that starts from standing and immediately falls to the floor. A little vocabulary lesson. Reading is the real art form of insult. The art of craftily insulting other queens. It's not as easy as simply insulting someone, like saying you're fat or you're ugly. It's much more nuanced and involves really taking a jab at someone's personality and appearance using calculated words. An insult is known as a read. If someone really gets read, they are read to filth. Shade comes from reading, saying something without really saying it. Like, I don't tell you you're ugly, but I don't have to tell you because you know you're ugly. Shade is basically a collective term for insults and reads. A queen is throwing shade when she is being particularly mean or rude to another queen. A queen who loves to talk behind another queen's back is shady boots. Voguing, throwing shade in dance form. Name and poses originated from Vogue magazine. Duh. Gagging, a queen who does something particularly impressive, awe-inspiring, and phenomenal will leave an audience gagging, which is to say they are completely wowed at her performance. To clock is to notice or call someone out who is not passing as the gender they're portraying. slay, eating the competition up, slaying everyone, ending it. She slayed. Legendary is the goal. An Oscar. An icon is a ballroom history maker beyond the status of a legend. Ova. You are doing over the top. You are number one. That dress she wore was Ova. Cunty, ultra feminine, also interchangeable with Ova. Beating your face is an adjective used to describe queens or cis women who are particularly attractive and great with makeup. Also a verb as in beat your face to make your makeup particularly stunning. Kiki, when two queens get together to talk, chat, catch up, gossip. Not to be confused with Kai Kai, when two drag queens have sex with each other. Something, the house down. When a queen does something particularly well, or something happens to the fullest extent that it can, it is boots the house down. Or, a queen who is particularly good at reading other queens can read the house down. Banji, looking like the boy who's probably robbed you a few minutes before coming to the ball. Judy is a close pal, characterized by favoritism, as in a judge that gives high scores based on friendship. Your good Judy is your good girlfriend. Realness, being able to blend in with society's straight stereotypes. In previous eras, passing in society was how you survived, and that is foundational to many ballroom categories. Realness with a twist is you present realness, then the twist comes and you perform the opposite. Butch queens are gay males regardless to which end of the masculine or feminine scale they choose to identify with. The category's specifics determine which way to lean. Face is a category consisting of skin, teeth, structure, a nice smile, nose, your eyes, your eyebrows, clean nails, your haircut. Okay, enough vocabulary. Let's get to the music behind it all. I was first introduced to Vogue music through Mike Q's remixes and sets on SoundCloud, the Prince of Ballroom. But before people started making their own Vogue tracks and turned it into what it is today, Ballroom adopted a lot of classic disco and house music songs to play at the balls. Ballroom is a subgenre of house, just like Baltimore Club and Jersey Club are subgenres of house. You would hear tracks like Basement Jaxx, Fly Life, Armand Van Helden, Witch Doctor, Love is the Message, which is the most legendary song of all time, by the way, Robbie Tronco's Walk For Me, Work This Pussy by Junior Vasquez and Sweet Pussy Pauline, C-U-N-T, Got to Be Real, The Dendada, and of course, the Ha Dance by Masters at Work, which is probably the most famous track used in ballroom. It takes its iconic Ha sample from a scene of Eddie Murphy jabbering nonsense in the film Trading Places. The Ha Dance is to ballroom what Sing Sing is to Baltimore Club or Pulse X is to UK grime, a song that's been hacked to pieces and turned inside out by thousands of versions and bootleg remixes. Ballroom is most in love with the song's metallic, demanding, industrial-sounding crash, often used every fourth beat to punctuate dancers dramatically dipping to the floor. Then the 90s rolled around, and the bitch track, also known as bitch house, became an LGBT club music thing. After Moy Renee's Miss Honey dropped in the early 90s, bitch tracks exploded in New York City. Peaches, Fuck the Pain Away, and Avenue D's Do I Look Like a Slut? And any other electro-clash artist who relies on raunchy or cunty humor owes a debt of gratitude to the bitch track. Yeah, so a bitch track is a song that a queen could vogue to. The 2000s rolled around, and DJs and producers within marginalized communities suddenly had creative control over the music and became able to create, experiment, and remix tracks purposefully intended for voguing. Today, Vogue tracks typically incorporate specific samples from the house songs that were commonly played at the balls, like the Ha from Masters at Work, the Siren from Witch Doctor, the cunt sample, and phrases like strike a pose from Madonna's Vogue song. This generation spawned the first wave of dedicated ballroom producers, names like Juan Allure, Angel X, Mike Q, Diwali Severe, Kevin Jay-Z Prodigy, B. Ames, and DJ Chip Chop, and the legendary Vogue collective Queen Beat. Like almost every true underground dance scene, proper releases are almost non-existent, with the producers mostly releasing tracks via homemade CDs or file share links. And now, ballroom producers just record themselves saying whatever they think will make the floor go crazy, like, taste my pussy, taste my bussy, tuna fish cunt. My favorite thing about Vogue music is that it glorifies the spirit of queerness and femininity, flipping words like cunt and pussy from put-downs into the highest praise. It's more than music, it's an attitude. Society says you're worthless, but the music says no, and that's a great thing. You just know you're not alone. Juan Allure says. A ballroom beat has to have energy. When you play it, there's a feeling that you're ready to go out and battle. You're ready to go out and walk. You're ready to go out and storm a runway. DJs are usually stationed off to the side and must know how to play the right tracks for each category at lightning speed while working with a nice MC or commentator. The commentator is on the mic at the ball, narrating all the things going on, and they can make or break you. They're like the pastor in the church, so the pastor leads praise and worship, and the commentator leads stars, statements, and legends. In conclusion, this concludes my love note to the icons, legends, visionaries, DJs, and storytellers of ballroom. I'm forever grateful to be lucky enough to be welcomed into the Vogue and ballroom scene. And today, at Sunday School, this is a safe space for us weirdos to join together, celebrate each other, show off, and lift each other up. To remind each other that we're all fucking uniquely beautiful and deserve to shine. Thank you so much for listening to the Herstory of Vogue, music, and ballroom culture. XO, XO.
I just always love to give God the praise, because if it had not been for Him, we would not be here. So you will always hear me talk about Jesus, because He saved a dirty, rotten, faggot wretch like me. And if He will do it for me, He will do it for you, and especially you. He don't have no prospective persons on who He will bless. So y'all take the Lord with y'all everywhere, and always be covered in the blood of Jesus. Because if it had not been for the blood, a faggot would not be here. And regardless, when we leave here, y'all know y'all gonna go back into a dark depression, and everybody's gonna be gagging and sad and thinking about their sickness, how they gonna pay their rent, and all these other things. So this is why,
let me tell you something.
If it had not been for the Lord who was on my side, I would not be here. So every time I see y'all and I always come with the blood of Jesus. God bless y'all, and may heaven continuously smile upon y'all.
Oh, that's that spirit in you. Come on out.